Meeting called to order. Today is Tuesday, April 5th. It is now 6:37 PM. Town Council for public hearing, number 1.
Councilman Tucker?
Here.
Councilman Kennahan?
Here.
Councilman Padula?
Here.
Council Vice President Giroux?
Here.
Council President Goslin?
Here.
There is a quorum.
All right, how do we want to start? Is anybody here for the public hearing? They're all here.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you for the support.
Why are you way in the back of the room?
So basically,
Keep him good company.
John has passed out an amended budget document based upon your comments and feedback during the workshops. On page 2, you'll notice on the summary that the numbers from manager to council on the bottom line for revenues and also for expenses, they're the same. So that basically what that means is that for expenses, when you said increase this by whatever, we went and found it in other locations, and we can go over that and how we came about that. But we've filled in the gaps where they needed to be filled in to get it balanced again. And then if there's any changes moving forward as a result of the public hearings, we can work on that as well. John, you want to just touch on the highlights of the primary changes? We don't have to touch everything, but...
Hello, no table tonight. We'll just freestand. Okay, just wanted to point out that of the various workshops that we did actually have, the council had expressed some additional items to be added. For example, the $15,000 for concert series in the Parks Department. So that was added. The assistant chief position has been funded at full-time as the council had requested to see what the numbers would be. In addition, we did have an adjustment that we were able to make to the dental insurance because we did get some information from the third party that does our working rates indicating that the dental rates actually decreased. So that was actually how we were able to make up the difference for a lot of the items that the council had previously requested to be added. In addition, trying to think of all the different items that you requested.
50,000
For the event, concert series, I mentioned that. We did actually take a look at, we're still waiting for an estimate on the roof for the fire station. However, we did put an additional $50,000 in capital in addition to the 50 that was there for operating capital to raise that to $100,000, anticipating that the roof would be at least the $100,000 for that replacement. Any additional funds we would need to locate from other capital funds or find for some other budget items. But at this point, the best we could do is just go with the $100,000 estimate for that roof.
We will have a better estimate tomorrow. They came out and they reevaluated today, and they're going to get us the numbers tomorrow. So they did say that the roof is total failure. It's completely saturated below the pitch, and it's the whole thing has to be pulled off and redone. So it's going to be a major job. So, but they're going to give us a quote, like I said, tomorrow, and hopefully. And now that's just on the fire side. That's not the entire building. It's just for the fire station side, because that was not redone the last time the roof was repaired here. So.
And that's what the quote's for?
That's what the quote is for. Yep.
But as of right now, this budget contains $100,000 for that.
For that.
We think it may be slightly higher than that, but the best we could do is with what we had. And
Yeah.
there was a previous quote that was over $100,000, but again, it was several years ago, so we're really not quite sure. To get a document, at least for discussion, we did put the 100 in for that under town hall improvements. In addition, we did adjust the capital. The fire chief had actually mentioned there were a couple of items that he could find other sources of funding. So we did actually reduce the capital budget. That was about $12,000. So everything combined, we were able, again, as Fred indicated, keep the expenses bottom line to where they were and just adjust some of the numbers for the additions by finding some other items that could be decreased, and the biggest one being the dental. A 15% reduction on the dental insurance can certainly go a long way.
This is,
retirees inactive.
this budget also has assistant DPW
Correct,
and also an assistant fire chief.
correct. The Assistant Fire Chief, Fred's column pretty much had indicated a half-time, but the council had the wishes to have that be full-time, so that's what this does represent right now.
Also as the full-time dog officer.
Correct. Maintenance.
Has the maintenance position.
Some of which were already recommended as part of Fred's presentation, but again, we were trying to point out some of the items that the council actually had requested to be added.
Fred, what's your opinion of where we are with these adjustments?
Again, we're able to get the budget back to balance based upon these changes, and a lot of that was through, fortunately, the dental has been running. We made a change last year. We used to be fully insured on the dental side, but it was recommended to us that in actuality, when they looked at the numbers, we've been running very strong on the dental side. Our costs have actually been lower than what the fully insured amount was costing us, so they recommended that we go self-insured dental like we are for medical, and that we could probably save a fair amount of money. And that bared out this year. We actually showed that we did much better than what we would have paid had we been fully insured like we were in the past. So based upon that, the recommended rate for next year is much lower than we had originally budgeted for, because we were originally budgeting for, the initial number that we were going with. So,
Okay, but you're the guy who has to make this budget work every
Correct.
single day.
Yep.
Are you happy with where this is?
Yeah, I think we can make this work. Again, it's going to be driven once we get the final numbers for, for the reval and for the growth rates, which Christine's still working on, but we'll have those for next week's meeting, if all goes well, at least a very close to final version of that, enough for you guys to make your determinations. Once we have those in place, I mean, with the budget as it stands, again, that's going to the full 4% levy, but we're not anticipating tax increases based upon our initial numbers, but we'll have to wait and see the final numbers next week. With the way it stands now, yeah, I think we can certainly make this work with everything that's in here.
Chief Barris, I'm just looking real quick on something that's always been on everybody's mind every year, and is your overtime. This year, it looks like you're gonna actually be under $1 million in overtime. Is this correct? Looks like we budgeted 940. In the previous years, we've always budgeted 940, and you've always gone 1.1, 1.2.
It's been consistently there. I can say right now,
Well, we got 4 months left in the year.
I'm in the good right now, but there's still a lot of time left and more vacations start coming up now with better weather, and maybe before June, guys start using up a lot of their time before June 30th.
Okay.
And just, we had previously said that the pension contribution, this was the full funding. We
Yep.
did, on the OPEB side, we did need to do a little bit of an adjustment on the OPEB to make up for some of the other items that we did need to add. However, both Fred and I have had discussions, and we feel like the self-insurance fund may be able to assist us with the OPEB contribution as well, because we have been running well in that particular self-insurance fund, and it is for medical, so it would make sense that we could find some funding in that self-insurance fund or internal service fund to help with the OPEB. The sooner we get in front of that OPEB liability, the better off we are. But this does include a significant amount for OPEB. We did not reduce that significantly, again, because we don't want to drain the self-insurance fund. We just feel that that's another source of funding we could use.
Any questions for John? Any
work,
questions
John.
for the town manager?
Yeah, there's two things that we're still looking at that I'd like to bring before the council. And the first is looking at the senior exemption. We haven't raised that in a long time. Expenses have gone up. And in West Warwick, look at all the surrounding communities. I mean, they really take very good care of their seniors. And I think probably of all of them, unfortunately, I hate to say, I don't think we take good care of them as a little consideration as other communities do. I'm not quite sure, I think it's, sorry, thanks. I think the exemption is 65 and over, it's, what is it, 100, it's a flat amount, $170?
Yeah, well, isn't it $10,000, but it comes to like under 200? It's like the veterans.
Yeah.
It's the same.
Christine is in her office. If you'd like, I can ask
Yeah,
her to come over so we can.
I thought it was a
discuss
flat amount, it's
Well, I
not based
think
on,
we
it's
should
not
look-
based on income or anything like that.
And Ed, I agree, you know, with that, but I think we should also look at all our exemptions, because you have your veterans exemption, you have your elderly exemption. I think you should look at all of them and see where we stand, you know.
Yeah, and that's-
'cause like you're right, they have not been adjusted
Right.
or looked
Yes.
into for many
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
I don't know if it's a state mandate, but I don't think it is, I think it's a town
I
mandate.
don't think it is, I think we can change it. What is it? Oh, okay, all right. So I'd like to look at that, we'll wait for Christine, I'd like to look at that. And also, we've looked at, we're looking at the numbers and what the impact would be on, right now, we have a tax rate, one for a single household, whether you live in it or not, if it's a single house, it could be rental, whatever. Then there's the two-family, where one of the rentals is occupied by the owner. That rate is the same rate for a single household. And I mean, we've had it for years, but when you start to think about it, it's really not fair for the single household, because they're actually subsidizing the two-family, whether you live in it or not. If you live in it, it's still typically a rental type thing, which helps you defray the cost of your taxes, expenses, et cetera, et cetera. Well, the single family doesn't have that. But yet their tax rate is exactly the same. Now, I'm not proposing that we double their rate or bring it up to a two-family. I'm proposing maybe a formula, for instance, half of the value could be single-family rate, and half the other value, which is a rental, be the two-family rate, that type of thing. Maybe get a blend of something. But before we do anything,
Or drop the single family.
Well, that would be the net effect at the end, Angelo. Would be like if you were to change that split rate,
right.
the effect would be to drop the single-family rate. Because that money has to go.
Well, no, that's what would happen. That's what we would do, actually. It's what it would come to.
Not realistically, not on paper, you're not. You're just, in other words, a single family pays $2,000. A duplex pays $2,500.
Okay.
So you want to raise, see, that's where we're going to make up on the budget.
Well, no, you have to. We have a pot of money. If you give it for the
Yeah.
owner occupied,
Yeah.
then you have to, you'll subtract it. If you add it on owner occupied, you have to subtract it on the
because you
single family.
can't go over the
You don't
4%
have to.
levy.
You could split it all the way around if you wanted to, right? You could bring it all over the place, but I'm thinking the single family needs a break too. I mean, right
That's
now,
what I say.
the two-family owner occupied has been getting a break for years and years and years, where the single family is not getting a break. I just don't think it's fair. It might not be popular for the ones that own two-family and they're occupying it, but when you think about it, I mean, I haven't heard any argument yet that it is fair, because, I mean, that's yours. So I'd like to look at that, but I need from Christine, and she's working on it, and with the town manager, they've been working on it for a few weeks, and see what the impact would be, and maybe some proposals to give some relief to the single family. And that's one of my proposals for this budget.
And so Christine, what we were talking about prior to you entering was the exemptions. We're looking at possibly readjusting the senior exemption, and actually all the exemptions. You have veterans, senior,
Veteran, senior, there's a couple of different ones with the veterans, so you can have a gold star parent and, different ones like that. But for just the regular senior exemption, it's $170 off the tax bill. And so, and that would be per household. So if you have more than one senior that owns it, it would still just be per
170.
the one.
Now, is there anything mandating that we can raise that or not raise it?
No, because we have different classifications on our taxes, right?
For the exemption?
Yeah, is there any, there's no state law or anything like that?
No,
We
no,
can
I
mandate
think
it.
the state law is enabling that you can give
Okay.
any, the exemptions that you one too in your town.
I know you're really busy, but can we get a list of all the exemptions that West Warwick offers and just get it emailed out to the council? That way
Absolutely.
we can take a look at it.
Yes, yep, with a dollar amount for each one, just make it, spell it out,
Yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
All right.
absolutely.
And going back to the rental, owner-occupied rental, again, if Christine and Fred come up that if you use this rate or that rate, and it's gonna gain $450,000, I'm just throwing a number out there, well, we'll say $500,000, that's $500,000 that you can reduce single-family by, to make it work, to be where you are, so just to keep it easy and so people don't think that we're gonna raise taxes here, do this, do that. But, I just remember a few years ago with the three-family and above, we adjusted that rate and it went significantly higher. And, you know, I just, if I was, when Ed first introduced this to me, I went over to, Ann's office over there and saw the rates on the door, and I said, if you go by just making two-family owner-occupied to the three-family rate, the average house is talking about $1,500 a year in tax increase. If you went by that, the way,
Yeah, I wouldn't propose, I
Which is
wouldn't
too much and it's
recommend
not
that.
logically fair.
yeah.
Now, Christine, does the veterans get the same $170 as our elderly?
No, theirs are different.
It's on 10,000, right?
No, motor vehicle is different from the residential, I'm trying to think, I'm
No,
sorry.
motor vehicle.
Well, you can move it to either
If
one.
if you're a veteran that doesn't own property, there's an exemption for their motor vehicle, so they can get assistance on the motor vehicle.
Yeah.
But if they do own property, what's the exemption?
I think that one's 172, Ann? 170. Yeah,
Yeah,
170,
The same.
yeah.
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
The veterans,
Did you just give us the senior?
Seniors
senior,
170, but it's flat rate, right?
Yes,
Per senior in the
and the
household.
veterans is 170.
There's two.
Per person in the household, or one max, yeah,
One
okay.
could be a senior, one could be non-senior, but you still get the 170.
And if I'm correct, if you go over towards Coventry, I think Coventry does not a flat rate, they do $10,000 off the, they don't have a flat rate, they do a $10,000 off the assessment. So-
$4 per thousand.
That right there is probably
That's around
$300.
260 for,
Yeah,
maybe around
260
260 for a single family.
Right off the bat, we're
Right.
giving 170, they're giving 260, it's proving my point.
Yeah.
That's
It needs to be addressed.
I agree.
This needs to be addressed.
We can look at that.
So in other words, if I'm a veteran and my wife is elderly, over 65, I get 170 for being a veteran, my wife gets 170 for being elderly,
yes.
but I don't collect the elderly,
You can't, only one per household.
One per
only
household.
one, either veteran or elderly.
No, you,
No.
For the
one
elderly, it's-
Elderly per household.
One elderly per household, one vet.
but no, if you're both veterans, you both can collect it.
By status, so husband and wife, two both in the military?
So they both
Two
get it.
military
Yes.
exemptions. But if they're both seniors, you only get one.
It's only the property tax exemption per household. Yeah, so I guess we're all in agreement now, it's just, again, the impact, how much you want to go up.
We'll run some numbers short.
Yeah, so I guess
How
we're
much can we go down?
pretty much in agreement.
Can we go up?
You know, it's time, it's, talking to the people, of course, taxes, they're not, I mean, they always complain about taxes, but recently, they see it as fair, and they see it as getting the town out of trouble. But the seniors, again, we've gone many, many, many years, without addressing this, and again, I'm glad we're finally, I think, address it this year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christine.
Thanks, Christine.
Just wanted to mention at one of the previous workshop, there was a question that was presented to us regarding information for information technology. So I did go back, and I do have a schedule I'll provide to the council. I know there's a question about how much we're actually spending for IT equipment versus services, and I do have some schedules here that I will pass out. It's not as high as what we were talking. I mean, it is over $100,000 a year, but it's not in the 200 range. And Fred and I looked at it today, and to bring staff on for what we're paying doesn't seem to really warrant at this point. However, we have discussed some things that we can do to help monitor and, make sure we're spending only what we need to. But I'll give you the schedule, because it was something you did request. Breaks it all. I have the current fiscal year through March, as well as the previous fiscal year. I'll give that to you for your information, but you'll see the numbers aren't too significant.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Any other questions?
Town council is secured, right?
Might have questions when just after you see this.
Should be raised taxes, right?
I think so.
WWTC. Yeah, WWTC. Okay.
I'm an IT guy myself.
And one of the things we are going to do is, going forward, we'll start to record in the general ledger 2 separate expense accounts, so it'll be easier for us to identify versus I had to go to last year's invoices to be able to identify it. I did speak to Danny as well, and we're going to continue to because we did make the request this year to receive separate invoices for services versus equipment. We'll continue with that as well as recording it. And Fred and I will sit down with him and discuss what we can do to just kind of streamline and help the process. Now that the servers have been replaced, the cost should, and most of the PCs have been replaced, the cost should start to get under control. Plus, we have the cloud solutions now, so that should definitely help as well.
Yeah.
No, it's just something that's, every budget always comes up, how much do you spend on computer services? Just like it comes up about legal, it comes
Right.
up about everything, you know?
And last
Maybe
year,
we have the answers, because my concern is I don't know what we're paying for software, what we're paying for hardware, and what we're paying for labor. And now that's in writing, I could see it.
correct. And we did actually have one year that it did appear, if you looked at from a cash basis or when he actually received checks, there was one year that it was closer to 200,000, but that included some invoices for the previous year that just happened to be paid to him during that fiscal year. So it kind of skewed the numbers a little bit, but it's been averaging anywhere from 130 to 150 for the, for both police and the town. So again, a lot of that was spent on the upgrades recently, especially this year. When it came to the servers, we did have some work that he needed to do as well for the phone system upgrade. So again, it doesn't seem to be totally out of control, but we will monitor it.
So this represents then effectively 3/4 of the year.
Correct.
So it would be fair.
Well, fortunately, there's still some invoices we're waiting on, but it's
So
fair to say it's
fair
going
add
to,
a third to that.
at least. Yeah. Which will put it in line with what was previously, it was set in the previous year, because you will see the second page is last fiscal year.
Fred, where are we with percentage of server usage versus cloud-based? Are we using anything on the cloud right now?
We are actually, our entire email system and our finance system are all on the cloud right now.
Are
So
we-
that took a huge chunk off
Yeah.
of our server requirements. So when we upgraded the servers, we did that with that in mind. So we were able to, reduce what the initial quotes for the server were twice what we ended up paying because we moved what we did to the cloud, and so the requirements weren't as great, because those are the two heaviest uses too. So by taking that step, we reduced the server requirements and reduced those costs substantially.
Okay. Are we planning on a higher percentage in any other areas?
No,
Anything else? Is
we
that-
looked at the other areas, and right now, I mean, there are things we're adding that we didn't have before, like the e-permitting and applying for permits online, stuff like that. That'll all be cloud-based, but we never had it before, so that's additional.
Okay.
So, but everything else that we do not have on the cloud right now, it's for a reason, for security purposes and for continuity purposes. We need to maintain that here.
And if I can just add something to that, in terms of the collection and admin software that we have for taxes and assessment, that there's currently no cloud solution for that with the current software company that we have. So that is going to remain, server-based. There has been some indication that there may be something in the future, but the database is so large that I don't know that they really will be able to come up with a cloud solution, but from a finance point of view, that's the only item that we do have. I know the police department has quite a few, as Fred indicated, for security or safety
Well,
issues.
It's just good to know we're taking advantage of, everything we can.
Any questions on the schedule that I handed out, or anything else on the budget? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the council? The end of our first public hearing. Yep, number 1 second. Well, nobody else is here this, from the hearing. Is anybody here for the public hearing for the budget? Anybody want to ask any questions about the budget? Hearing none.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
2-minute recess.
Just enough time to hit the men's room.
You're the computer, yeah? Bobby, Saturday I was trying to get there, by the time I got back in town, it was 3:30. Your wife will rat you out, don't you lie to me. There's a church across the street, you're gonna go say a few prayers. Thank you. She married you out of desperation. Bobby told Penny I got a bunch of kids running around town. Both do. You never change, do you? You don't change, do you? I wanted the wife, I give you $100.
In a nice suit.
Is that all you had to give Ed?
I know it should have been white.
Yeah, what are we gonna do? Should concrete and the track all clear off? Well, if they don't clear it off, what are you gonna do? Call you up and say, hey, how did that? I'll bring the intersection. What's tomorrow? What do you do? I'm sorry, Bridgewater? Best jump of the day, college. This week. 20 feet. No. He said, "Guys, I'll cut all it up and pick it up." He said,